Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I'm here with the marvelous PK, all the way from Tucson, who's going to interview me tonight.
Oh, yes.
So excited.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yes, I know, and you're the right one to ask these questions, so...
I know who you are.
We're going alien tonight. I mean, big time alien.
Yeah.
And a very unusual story. But first, PK, tell us what's going on.
Well, sweetness, we are in a 4-month, and it's all about details. It's all about land, property, health, healing, restrictions, limitations, and feeling like you want to scream and throw your hands up. Because it's all about working, and not everybody wants to work now. We're hitting nice weather. People want to play, and it's not letting us. So it's going to be a combination of things that we've got going on. Details of things are going to be very, very important right now. Hang on to your money, because next month you're going to have some place to splurge.
Oh, yeah.
This month, hold it close to the chest. Keep it in the purse. Don't spend it all up, because everything's going to cost more. It already is costing more, but it's not going to get any better. So if you have anything special you'd like to do, let's put those few pittance away right now before our government finds a way of taking it and using it up on us.
We can always count on that, unfortunately.
Oh, definitely. Let's put it this way. Groceries used to come home with 2 or 3 bags. Now you can come home with a little bitty, that's it.
Little satchel, and that's all you got. And it's like $50. Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
I don't know how families are doing it. I really don't.
I don't either. I just watched my son with just his daughter. My God, it's everything you need is way over the top. And I have to laugh. It's bad enough that our prices have gone up on everything. But do they have to shrink everything on top of it?
Yes, you're right.
That drives me crazy.
That's absolutely true. That's what they're doing. You get less. You get less.
You know, a can of soup used to be this high, down CA high.
Yes, right.
There is no norm anymore. That's scary, because it's not going to get any better.
No.
This year is getting us warmed up for the possibility of what's to come. And I think maybe it's time, governmentally, emotionally, and physically, we all make some major changes.
It's time. It is.
Really time.
It is.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yes. No, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. And I wanted to tell everybody that thanks to our amazingly talented producer, we are going to be having some clips from our shows up on TikTok and some other things too. So be sure to join us on TikTok. And we have a handle of our usual at Supernatural Girls. So join us there. And by next week, we'll be streaming our show on YouTube as well. Yeah. And if you would like, you can join us in the chat room tonight if you have any questions. What we're going to be talking about, which is an amazing story. Very few people know about it. It should be a major motion picture. And I hope someday it will be, to honor this woman's journey, because it is beyond words. It's truly something that needs to be seen on the big screen. So anyways, what we're talking about tonight is something called Colors in the Dark, which is the name that Marianne Shenefield gave to her book, which I'm writing. And PK, tell everybody what you told me, if you don't mind, about the 8-year.
Well, the 8-year, you want to be in control. You're in charge. You know what's going on. And it's don't get in my way, because I know what I'm doing. I know everything.
And you were saying that this happened to her when she was in an 8
year. Mm-hmm.
And now we're in an 8 year.
Which is ironic that we're going through the same things at the same time that she did. So we get a little taste of it.
Yes. And so it's, like you said, it's come full circle. And I so appreciated you telling me this earlier today, because I felt like, what was it that motivated me to dust all these files off and go back into the underground and look at all of the story? And then you said, I'm bringing it together for you. It's 8 and 8, and here we are.
Yes, exactly.
We are going back in time tonight to an easier time of life in the 1950s. That's when this started.
Yes. Leave it to Beaver.
Yes.
Yes. Back with my pearls on. Not anymore.
No. And little Lulu comic books. And nobody was really talking about too much space stuff or UFOs, but certainly not Marianne Shenefield. She was growing up on a farm in Agawam, Massachusetts, and she had an older brother, an Italian family intact, mom and dad, and they ran a greenhouse, sold plants out of the greenhouse, etc. It was an idyllic life. So she and her brother were the mischief makers of the neighborhood, and they would run around. Oh, you'll love this one. Playing cowboys and Indians, and they had a friend that they would torment, and they would bring him out to play cowboys and Indians, and then they would tie him to a tree. And because they were kids, they would forget they tied him to a tree, and they would go, oh, dinner time, time to go home. And they'd go home, and they're eating their dinner, and the phone would ring, and it would be this child's mother saying, excuse me, have your kids seen? He's not here. And they would be, uh-oh, we forgot to untie him. So
what a way to go.
Yeah, but it was, innocent. It was innocent mischief. Back then, where neighborhood kids got together and did some fun stuff, sometimes a little naughty, sometimes a little scary for the parents, but overall, it was very innocent.
Well, I took a look at, you had given me her birth name, and I took a look at that today also. If you want to talk about it now or talk about it a little later.
Let's introduce everybody to this incredible lady.
Well, firstly, she was extremely headstrong.
Oh, yes.
I mean, to the nth degree, and I didn't realize how much so. I knew her story, but when I started looking at the numbers, I went, oh my goodness, overly sensitive. Her mother would have wanted to tear her hair out because she was very sensitive to feminine side of things. Right. She was very creative. She wasn't afraid of, but she loved change. Change for her was like a shot of adrenaline. And she had a very good head on her shoulders. But her spiritual side and how she looked at things was always different. But she didn't realize it was different because we didn't talk about things like this then.
No, we sure didn't.
You just knew you felt maybe different than your brother did or whatever when you're working on things. But when you look backwards and you see how things went, this young lady was a good manipulator, and she knew how to make things happen, whether they liked it or not. She wasn't going to take no for an answer from anybody, and she didn't. When she had things to say, they just came out. And I'm sure that her mother and father probably did a lot of those oh-ho moments when she was growing up, because she just had that need she had a need to be free. And she had nothing to equate it with because of the way it was back in those days. You just did what you were told, etc. And that's the way it was.
Yes, it's very different times.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Parents didn't have to worry about their kids playing in the evening hours. They knew where they were, if they were out in the woods, or they just were comfortable with it. This whole thing of all these predators wasn't a happening thing back then.
Oh, heavens no.
I mean, it's always in our culture, but not like it is now. So, yeah, and for Marianne, she also went through some tough times. But what happened was, as we were talking earlier, Italian family.
Very strict, very structured.
Yes, son is the golden child. The daughter has to be doing daughter things. The son should be doing son. And so one day, the father decides to take the son out to build a tree fort. Marianne wanted to go, really badly wanted to go. and her father wouldn't let her go. And she was furious. So she took some wood, hammer, nails, put it on her bicycle. Talk about being headstrong.
Oh, yes, she was that.
Off she went by herself to the far corner of the property where her parents told her not to go.
Well, of course, she's free.
Right. Headstrong, yeah. And she also used to take these praying mantises, because there were praying mantises in their gardens, and she would pick them up and she put them on her handlebars, on her bike
and ride with them.
Yeah.
Oh, what a trip.
He's in. So I'll tell you, this is quite a story. So anyways, she gets out to this spot, she unpacks, and she looks overhead because there's a glint in the sky, and she sees a silver object overhead, but it's not making any noise. So she looks up, she sees it, she gets everything together and decides what she's going to do next to build this fort, which she doesn't know what she's doing. She's only 11 years old, and she just wants to show her father and brother, I can do this too, and screw you. So,
and she meant it.
And she heard branches crackling behind her. She turns around to face what she describes as a little boy from China in a scuba diving suit, and he was wearing a large belt that had light on it, light colors on light bulbs, light colors on this belt. The next thing she knows, she's being taken aboard what she calls, and I'll think about no reference points for any of it. She calls it the car from heaven. So he took me to this car from heaven. They take her up into wherever, stratosphere. They put her, this is back in 1952, in front of a machine, much like our MRI is today.
Right.
And she could see all of her organs functioning, and she threw up. And she starts screaming, you better bring me back. My daddy's going to get you, all kinds of threats. Talk about being
she hoped.
Yeah. She and Betty Hill are kind of close in that way.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyways, eventually they did bring her back. But I'll tell you this, in all the abductees that I've talked to, it felt to me like they had an affinity for her. It's like she was more than an abductee. There was some relationship there. There was some closeness there where they were much nicer to her and much friendlier to her than to just about anybody else. So they drop her off. She runs like a little demon, lies down under her favorite apple tree, falls asleep, then gets up, it's nighttime now, and runs home, goes into her room, slams the door, and turns the radio up really loud. And her mother's like knocking on the door. Then she lets herself in. She goes, didn't you hear me calling you? Where have you been? And then Marianne tells her, car from heaven, scuba diving suit from China. And they don't know what the heck she's talking about.
Not hardly at that point.
They think, did she get molested? You know what happened? They call the doctor. And then over the next couple of days, she does not want to come out of her room. And being the hard-headed Marianne she was, she didn't. So the doctor had to come to the house. She had some type of a rash, which they couldn't explain, whether it was from radiation or some exposure to something on the ship. I don't know. But she said it was also hard to breathe on the ship. So I'm sure that was a little frightening.
Well. I would imagine.
Yeah. So they couldn't figure it out, and they found the doctor said she wasn't molested, she's fine. So they just left it alone. And then about 6 months later, she was playing the piano. She had been taken to piano lessons regularly, and her father said, "Why don't you play this song for me?" I think it was Fleur de Lis, and she starts playing it from memory, not by reading the music. Then that was the first time that he realized something was wrong. And he said, "Can you not read the music?" She goes, "I can read it. I can't see it."
That's right. I forgot about that part.
So she was beginning to lose her vision to macular degeneration, which destroys your central vision. So she was, again, 11 at the time. This progressed. She had to wear those big, thick Coke type
glasses. Oh, God, yes.
Sit in the front of the class. She was not feeling like she was going to be included anymore with anything.
No, that's for sure.
Very hard time for her. Her parents did their best. They brought her to some experts in Boston, but they said there's nothing we can do. This is a genetic situation. A lot of people can get this in older years. So it can be something that hits, I guess, in adolescence or something that hits in older age. But nobody in their family had it except her. No other relatives. So as time goes on, she gets adjusted to her condition of not having sight anymore. That meant no driving, which, to a teenager, terrible, right?
That's everything.
That is everything.
Sure.
But, she still tried to do her best. She took up singing. She did lots of other things, but it was hard. It was very hard for her. She really liked to be the center of attention. She really liked to be out there.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, and you saw that, I know, in her numbers. And very hard for her. But as she went along, her parents gave her a house that was about a half a block or so down the street. Now, this house bordered on 200 acres of undeveloped land. So one night she was going out to meet some friends, and she fell asleep, waiting for the time to get up and go meet them.
Mm-hmm.
She fell asleep, and she woke up with somebody taking her hand, pulling her out the back door and taking her into the meadows. And again, she didn't have any central vision. She just had her peripheral vision, so she could see very little of what was happening. It was another ET. They took her aboard a ship the second time, and this time she had a completely different experience. They gave her a lot of information. She did see a man who had died on the battlefield, and he was in a tube on this ship, and she was very upset about it because she thought they killed him. But they explained to her, no, they didn't. He had already been deceased before they took him.
Right.
So then she came back, and she didn't remember much about anything. But when she woke up, it was very late. The phone was ringing. Her friends were calling. Where are you? We've been waiting for you. She didn't know what happened. She had tremendous anxiety. And the next day she walked herself into a psychiatric unit.
Right.
I'm crazy. You have to help me.
It's overwhelming when you think of all the things that she went through at that point in time. And of course, there was nothing to equate it with because we didn't discuss things like this. Well, this was all unknown, virtual, new ground.
There was no format for any of it. Not like today, where you can call up a psychic or call up another abductee or nothing.
Right.
It wasn't happening. So anyways, they evaluated her and sent her home. There's nothing wrong with you. And she was very disappointed because
isn't it terrible when you want to have something wrong because you can't stand it the way it is?
I know. And then you can they're like, we can't fix you because there's nothing wrong. It was after that she was driving. She was sitting in a car with a friend driving. And all of a sudden she felt and saw this large blue spiral come from behind her head, hit her hard in the head, and it jolted her. And then all of a sudden, guess what? She could see again. So
it's just so incredible that it happened so quickly for her.
Yes. And so she's screaming to her friend, I can see that house. It's this, it's that, it's blue, it's colonial. It's, she was able to see things. And she's like, she didn't know what happened, but what
he did.
Amazing miracle, right?
That's for sure.
But then what happened was when she closed her eyes, she never ever saw darkness again. That was it. So the light, the symbol, she would see genetic symbols. She would see all kinds of other health symbols. She could look at you and tell you all your health problems, what you needed to do about it, and where they came from. She would tell you who you were related to, where you came from. She could just tell that. This went beyond psychic. But before she got to that stage where she was able to actually use this, she was a mess. I mean, she would just sit on her bed and rock and say, please let me go to sleep. Please let me see darkness. And she would close her eyes, and it didn't make any difference. See all of this light and all of these symbols in front of her. So it was very difficult. And then a friend of hers said, well, why don't you try marijuana? See if that'll help you, you know? And so she did. And she said it made it worse, because what marijuana does in the world of energy is it slows everything down. So then she would start walking, and she would be walking into the symbols.
Oh, wow.
So she got no relief, none from any of this. It was awful. So this continued for some time until she met a really good psychic named Mary Pasquarella, who began to help her. That was an amazing thing for her to get that kind of.
It made all the difference in the world for her, for sure.
Yes. But to have this happen and to not know why or where it came from, she was left to kind of deduce, well, how did this happen? So like you said, she would look at things differently. And she started to blame the ETs and accuse them of blinding her, and then accuse them of doing something to alter her brain so that she could now see this way that she was seeing. And she was really an angry person, you know, feeling too much had been taken from her. So incredible, isn't it?
Was this about the time, what was it with the golden lion?
That was at the beginning.
Was that at the beginning of this? Because I knew there was something about the golden lion that was affected her very much. Yeah.
It was like almost a cartoon. And she saw, that was one of the first symbols she saw. The golden lion. And there was one other, I can't recall at the moment, but I'll put it in the book for sure. But that was a big part of almost an initiation. But she didn't know what it was. You know, again, this is a farm girl.
Yeah. How would you know?
This is a farm girl who, when their rooster was going to be put to death by her Italian grandmother and made into a soup, she took the rooster and hit him.
Ran away.
Hit him out in the woods, and would go feed him every day and massage his little neck so he wasn't crippled, and then his grandmother took soup out of him, and she healed him. So
amazing.
She had a lot of talents here, and you know, she loved animals. She had a cat that lived to be 26 years old.
Incredible. My gosh.
She loved animals. She just loved them. And she was a chain smoker. You know, she felt like that kind of helped her ground with all of this other energy that she had to manage. But her abilities were so far beyond anything I've ever seen. She was telekinetic. One time she started a fire in her bathrobe.
Oh, that's right. I saw that.
She just was sitting there, and all of a sudden, whew, it went up in a blue flame. And one time she was trying to quit smoking. She was married to Danny at the time. They went out to eat for lunch, and she had told Danny, don't let me have a cigarette. I'm really going to try to stop. So it got to the point, though, while they were waiting for their food, that she couldn't take it anymore. She said, Danny, give me a cigarette. And he's like, no, I'm not giving you a cigarette. You told me not to. She's like, give me the cigarette. I don't care what I said before. Give me the cigarette. No, I'm not giving you a cigarette. Well, she took her little fist, because she was little, and she smashed it on the table in the restaurant, and she blew out the transformer for the entire block. It just blew up.
Incredible.
Yeah. And again, this is something that, I mean, she could, if she had learned to control a lot of this stuff, she would have been probably abducted by the shadow government, and they would have misused her.
Definitely. But you know,
the way that didn't happen.
She really was a Jekyll and Hyde, because you never knew what she was going to be at a day-to-day basis.
You're right.
What was transpiring around her. And that was one of the things that I found fascinating when we were talking about her. But she always had issues with females, though.
Yes.
The mother was the beginning of it, but it went throughout all of her life, issues with the females. She was ultra sensitive, which had a tendency to make her very insensitive. Because she was.
She drove a lot of people away, which sure she didn't mean to do.
No, she couldn't help it.
Well, and she wouldn't realize it until they were gone. And then she'd be like, uh-oh. But yeah, she wanted things done a certain way, and she had an acid tongue, like you said. She would just say it.
Yes.
And it would be hurtful. But again, this comes from a time when we had no emotional intelligence, no training, on how to get in touch with our feelings and share them reasonably. And so she just weaponized her feelings, and off and running she went. But people were really fascinated by her until, something happened.
Well, the temperament.
Exactly. But she was able to do another thing that I've never seen anybody else do. She could get on your frequency. Mm-hmm. So for example, I'd be in my house and I would go to my office and I'd start working with clients and I would smell cigarette smoke. Now, nobody was allowed to smoke in my house or my office. So I thought, is there somebody outside smoking? So I'd go look outside. There's nobody there. My client's looking around and she's smelling the cigarette smoke. So I'm like, I bet it's Marianne.
Mm-hmm. Just passing through.
Yeah, well, I called her up. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm smoking like a chimney.
Yeah.
I said, well, get off my frequency because we're sitting here smelling your cigarette smoke as if you are in the room.
Mm-hmm.
That's how strong it was. I mean, it wasn't etheric. It wasn't light. It was like, there's somebody in the room smoking. Yeah. That's how powerful she was. And she could get on my frequency. And let's say she was hungry and she was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I would be like, where's my peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I mean, again, it's like, and I would have to call up and say, would you please get off my frequency? Are you eating peanut butter and jelly? Yes. But she was that powerful, but unpredictable. So I can see why shadow government left her alone. They bugged her phones and they sent people to spy on her. And her attitude was great. Because I would say to her, well, doesn't it bother you that they're bugging your phones? And she's like, no, maybe they'll learn something.
They didn't.
No, but she had that Betty Davis kind of attitude sometimes. And it was funny, and I thought it was pretty healthy, actually, rather than getting paranoid, about who's listening to me. And she didn't care. So
that was her survival kit.
Yeah.
For being able to withstand anything going on around her. She knew who she was. That 8 year that she was born in, and actually she would have passed with the 8 as well, because it was 7 months, or it was 7 year and 9 months into her 8 year when she passed. So everything around her dealt with the number 8 or the 8s or the controllers or those in charge.
Right.
She always had an issue with that.
Yes.
She wanted to be in charge all the time.
Always, of everything.
Didn't like it when anybody else usurped that area.
No. In fact, Steven Spielberg was interested in her story. When this first started to make the rounds, he decided, I guess, I don't know which movie he was doing at the time, if it was Close Encounters or E.T., but he was interested in her story because it was so phenomenal. She also worked with Andrei Puharich. She introduced me to him. He adored her. He just thought the world of her. She also met and worked with Uri Geller in Israel, who we've had Uri on the show.
Yeah, Uri's on the show way back when we first. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, and he was a fantastic guest, but they all worked together on certain project things. She began to get into, come into her own. And it was helpful to have people like Dr. Puharich around and Uri Geller. So she was getting more support and more pats on the back, for the thing that she could do instead of just feeling like a weirdo. It's like, who
Right.
am I in this that can do all these unusual things? And again, the one thing she could always control was her telepathic ability, her ability to know what was going on with someone, health-wise and everything.
Mhm.
I'll give you an example of that. I had a client sitting in my office one day, and she was in tremendous pain, abdominal pain. And I was really worried. I was like, oh God, should we be taking her to the hospital? What should be happening? So I called Marianne. I said, would you take a look and tell me what's going on? And she said, sure. She goes, well, this woman has a tremendous amount of scar tissue from endometriosis, and that's causing her pain. I said, okay, so it's not life-threatening. Nope, that's what it is. Well, it was several months later that this client went in for surgery for endometriosis. Her doctor said, you had more scar tissue than anybody I've ever seen.
Amazing.
So here she is, a blind woman, right? Has this inner sight, and she could outdo any doctor. She told me I had hypothyroidism. I said, no, I don't, because I've been tested, right? I've had the test, and I come up right smack dab in the middle because I don't care what the test says. You have hypothyroidism. So a couple months later, I'm sitting in an office somewhere, and I'm waiting, and I'm reading articles, and there's an article about hypothyroidism. It's called subclinical hypothyroidism. It doesn't show up on any test. And when I read that, I'm like, son of a gun, she was right. I got on a low dose of thyroid medication, and all my symptoms went away.
Amazing, isn't it?
So once again, she was right. I mean, she knew how to just look into an energy field and follow the dots all the way down to whatever ailment was happening at that time. So I've never seen anybody do this with such clarity. Never. But she wasn't really all that interested in healing.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about, because so much of what she went through, it was never to make her world any healthier or any better. She just wanted an answer of the how come.
She did want an answer to that. And she also wanted to be someone who would get the attention, the bats, for what she had gone through. I mean, it was amazing that she survived all of this. But
oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, she did. So she went on to adopt a daughter and get married, and she had a very full life in a lot of ways. So people called her to do research with them on some high projects. And I know the shadow government always had their eyes on her, but I also know they felt that she was too much of a wild card. So,
well, she was that.
Yeah, she really was. But to go back to how come and why this happened, we may never know the full truth. But I can tell you that the psychiatrist that she ended up seeing did put her under sodium amytal, which is truth serum.
Right.
And his name was Dr. John Donahue, very credentialed, very esteemed psychiatrist. He was an amazing psychiatrist. And as far as I know, Marianne is the only abductee who was put under truth serum. Most other people are put under hypnosis, but she was put under sodium amytal, truth serum. And under that, and the guidance, of course, she had to have Dr. Donahue there administering it, monitoring her. All of the abduction information came out. So Dr. Donahue completely backed her experiences. I have a letter from him that's lengthy stating everything that she claimed happened absolutely did happen, that her way of seeing was also verified. So she had a lot of support from Dr. Donahue and the sodium amytal experience. What is unfortunate is that those tapes were stolen. So, yeah. Kind of like Carl Higdon with the bullet, remember?
Yes, I was just going to say, people don't want to believe, but they can't keep their fingers off what's going on.
Sure, that was a shadow government move. They didn't want anybody hearing this under sodium amytal, because then there's no way you could say it wasn't true. Then it would absolutely be a nail in the coffin for them, and they didn't want anybody to hear those tapes, so they took them.
Well, they've done that with a lot of things, haven't they?
They have. But again, that was such a big part of confirmation of her story, that there's no way, because you and I have interviewed people through the years who have had, they claim experiences, but then you and I talk later and we're like, I don't know about this.
Possible, maybe, but I don't think so.
I think it happened maybe in another like etheric place, but but this was real. This was definitely all out physical reality. In fact, she had stones, because that place that they took her to, the Meadows, was right.
That's right.
One day we went walking back there, and there are these stones that were very plain on one side, but had this blue-green color on the other. And those stones showed up after the second abduction. So something, whether it was from the ship or whatever, caused this color change with these stones. Yeah.
If we ever had any total inkling of how many people have been through things like this and the things that have been changed on Earth because of, I think we would all fall over, because it isn't just a bits and pieces that we get. It has to be considerably more than we even assumed to have happened.
Well, it's so much more. And then when you think about, there was ET involvement in this chain. Now, did they blind her? I don't think so. When I did research on this, I certainly understand why she thought that. But when I did research on bilateral degeneration of the macula, what I found out was you can have two people 6 generations back who each have the recessive gene for this. And then nobody gets it for the subsequent generations until all of a sudden one kid gets hit with both recessive genes. So that's entirely possible. That's what happened.
Good point.
Yeah. And then what happened as she got older is it kind of morphed into Stargardt's disease. So not only had she lost her central vision, but she also lost a lot of her peripheral.
Right.
However, when the people for disability in Massachusetts came out to try to teach her how to walk with a cane, or did she want a dog? And she's like, I don't need any of that. They're like, okay. So they took a penny. They're in an auditorium and a gym. And they take the penny and they throw it all the way down to the other end of the auditorium. She just marched down there, picked up the penny. This is why I don't need a cane. She was reading energy, and she walked through just this normally as you are. Absolutely normal.
Incredible, isn't it?
I think so. But in terms of the blue spiral, I think that was absolutely ET. And I think they did make her their genetic experiment. And here's the other funny part of this, ironic part of this. When she was on the second UFO experience, she encountered the mantis.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Mantis are known for their genetic manipulation. Masters at it. So I'm not surprised, that there was that involvement. And, again, I had always, when she would talk about this stuff, as much as she railed against them at times and so much against them, I just felt like they really cared about her. I really did. I felt like, it's not like with other UFO abductees where they dump them out of the bottom of the space, like they did with Carl, and they even liked him. But you know what? They took Carl.
Good point.
They dumped him out of the bottom, and then he fell down the hill and hurt his shoulder, and but they took great care with her. They brought her back to her home, and put her back in her bed. I just always had that feeling that they cared about her.
Don't you think that many times that those that are involved, as she was, that the people that or whatever that are the ones that utilize their time and effort of putting these people together, that there's maybe more of a love connection or a caring connection than we want to believe. It's easier to say, oh, well, they're negative and all this, but you have to care about something to be able to make it grow and become an open book for us to learn from.
Well, yeah. I mean, according to some abductees, they think most of this is positive. And I think like you do, though, that there's good and bad in every race.
Oh, God, yes.
And everything. So
we can certainly see that today, can't we?
Yeah. But I think with Marianne's experience, there's a true love for her. And I think they wanted her to be able to see again, but her eyes, it wasn't going to happen with her eyes. Yet I've heard, and you have too, how people have been healed by. But in this case, this is how they handled it. And I think some of it was an experiment to see how will this go, because this really took this little kid out of the country.
Oh, definitely.
Up into the stars.
That's right.
That's what they did with her. And so, my God, what an intense experience for her. But she really struggled with it at times. And again, her blaming them, I'm like, it got to the point where I said, look, I don't think you're right about this. And it's not my experience. I didn't go through it. But what a gift you've been given.
Well,
what a gift.
The reality of it had to be frightening because she could be aware of what's taking place, but disavow that it's actually happening. And this, like being on a teeter-totter, you don't know where you fit, and you're trying to come to terms with what you've said, what you saw, what you felt, and how things are going on around you. And you've got everybody around you that's going, oh, really? And who do you think you are?
Right. Right.
What a way to have to
exist. Plus she wanted a normal life. She wanted to be a teenager, to get, have driving lessons and go to the prom. I think she did go to the prom, but it was that kind of normal life for the 50s and 60s. It was like, that's what she was looking forward to. And to have all of that taken away. Yeah. So abruptly. But also, I had an experience one time because I was like, I wonder what it would be like to see like she sees. And I had a group session. It was a large family, and there were like 4 sisters that came for a session. Because I don't know if everybody knows this, but I used to be a counselor. And so we're sitting in my office, and I'm listening as they're trying to work something out, talking to each other. And I look at one of the sisters, and I see this energy come from her like a cable, and like then connect up with the person she was talking to. And then it all kept going from there. And I had all I could do to focus on what they were saying because I'm watching this.
Mind-boggling, to say the least.
This is what it's like for Marianne. Now, I have to say, after this, I had to go to bed. I was exhausted. So to be able to see like that, I wasn't calibrated for this. So Marianne was used to it. And she's up 24 hours a day, every day. So I did my best. But it really was a humbling experience to know what it must have taken for her to manage all of that energy.
Well, you can think about the fact that this is a child going through that. The fears that must have gone along with it, because it's definitely the unknown, that no one in her family would have discussed anything like this. And here she is, let's say, odd man out. How you're going to fit? How are they going to accept what you say you see or feel?
Right. Her mother was incredibly loyal to her. They were very, very close. And so that was a saving grace, that she always knew she could count on her mother to be by her side, even though her mother did not understand this. But actually, when they were both listening to the radio one day, hearing about alien abductions and hypnosis, that they finally began to put all of this together. Right. And that made them seek out Mary Pasquarella, Andrea Puharich, all these other people to help her with this. So that was thanks to her mother that some of that happened.
The ironic part is in her chart, there's that sensitivity dealing with the female side of things.
Right.
And so it took much for her and her mother to really connect.
Yeah.
That had to be a major issue for her to be able to handle it in that direction.
I think you're right. Absolutely. But I know that her mother was a very comfortable person to be around. So I think that that's, that was a lot of it.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. But she wanted to be daddy's girl. She wanted that attention.
Doesn't every little girl?
Yeah. But an Italian family, and sometimes that's challenging.
Oh,
but
definitely.
She was just incredible. And I kept, trying to, when I was working with her, trying to direct her, like, why don't you help some more people? And she really wasn't that interested. It was more about she wanted to work with people to do like this, get into the science of it or something.
She was self-sufficient. She was her, period. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I am as I am and accept me as I am, and I don't need to do what you need me to do.
No, I
want you to know I'm very hard-headed young lady.
Yeah.
From this standpoint, my way or the highway attitude.
Yes, it was that way. I think if she had had her druthers and if it could have happened, she really would have wanted this to be scientifically backed.
Oh, I agree, because she was extremely intelligent.
Yes. So I think that was something that it just couldn't happen during that time. Andrea was trying to scientifically validate Uri Geller, Peter Hurkos, Marianne, but he was way ahead of his time.
Oh, good God, yes.
And he was involved in the underground there with the government too, and was a part of Project Penguin, which is one of the first paranormal types of projects. And it was in the Marines of all places. But he said that's where they're doing this, is in the Marines. So he was delightful, and he absolutely adored Marianne. And, they were very close friends. And then there was another guy that came into play. I just want to say hi to some of our listeners. Susan, Lawrence, hi. Thanks for joining us. And yes, it's an amazing story. And Eric, thanks for joining us tonight. She called me up one day and she said this man's name, and very well-known guy in the football world. Not a football fan, but I knew who this guy was.
Typical female.
Yeah, I don't like football much, but I knew the name. I said, what does he have to do with you? She said, she met him and his wife and somebody else and through some other group, and he was coming over and could I do her makeup for her? So I was living in Rocky Hill at the time and she was living in Agawam. I said, sure, I'll come and do it for you. So I drove the 40 minutes to her house and put on her makeup. And then as I was starting to leave, he came in, and I immediately knew this guy was a spy. He was a spy. He was spying on her, acting like he was her friend. So later on, I said, how did it go? Did you have fun? And, did you do whatever? I don't know what you're planning on doing, but how'd it go? She said, fine. I said, well, he's a spy, right? Yeah, I know. I don't care.
Well, easy come, easy go.
It's like she just, liked the attention. And he's a good-looking guy, nice guy, big-time guy, in the world of football. So, but that was her attitude. It was like she didn't care. I remember doing presentations about her story at the Boston UFO annual meeting and one in New Haven. And I would just look out into the audience and I could see alphabet letters right over the heads of some people. I'm like, wow, they're really watching you. I'm seeing CIA, FBI, they're all here. But she didn't care. She was like flattered, They wanted to know what she was up to.
Isn't it nice, though, that she could be that nonchalant about it, to be so cavalier? I am as I am, and forget it if you don't like it. Oh, well.
Right. No, she wanted to enjoy herself.
And she did.
She did. And again, I thought that was a really healthy attitude to have. But I also wanted to mention, go back to the fact that there were news stories around the time of her abduction in July of 1952. There they are. So these saucer reports, remember? So all of these things were going on at the same time that she had her experience, the first one, when she was 11 years old. So this all really corresponded and backed up what she saw and what happened. But again, what always caught me was the way that she talked about the experience, having no reference points. The car from heaven. What a perfect description.
Oh, gosh, yes.
A little girl to use. And the boy from China, of course, we know the grays with the big slanted eyes and wearing a tight, kind of a jumpsuit, describing that as a scuba diving suit.
But she never seemed to be fearful of any of it, did she?
She wasn't really fearful. She just became, like I said, angry because she felt victimized. She felt they had taken her sight from her. It really pissed her off if they did that.
Well, I would have too,
Yeah. So, but then it went into the heavy drinking. But then I had a talk with her about that, and she stopped because she realized it wasn't helping her. It wasn't giving her any relief from the symbols. And she was going to be seeing those, whether she had her eyes open or closed.
Good point. Good point.
So she came to terms with a lot of things, which, God bless her, I give her a lot of credit for that. Because, again, no support back then.
No. Oh, to grow up without any background of a person that could help you because they knew or were aware of. Everything was cold turkey. It was a unknown world, uncharted waters that she was stuck in.
Yes, it really was.
Yeah, like being in a rowboat with no oars.
Yes, it really was. I mean, I think back of her, that image of her sitting at the edge of her bed, rocking back and forth.
Oh, yeah, poor thing.
Praying for darkness to come. And it never did. Never again. So,
that is so sad.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think of the stories that we are aware of, and I can't help but wonder how many are out there that we don't know about yet.
I know. Well, again, because especially back then, nobody was going to talk about this. You were if you talked about this then. So there's even some people now who still think that people are making these things up.
You mean they want to put your little white coat and lock you in a room? Yes, there's a lot of that going on yet.
Yeah. But, you're right. We've had enough people here from all different organizations, whether it's MUFON or something else, and that have shared their stories. And they're all remarkable in their own way. But this one is, to me, the most remarkable of all. It really is. And I'm sorry we lost her back in 2019. She's no longer with us. But I'm now committed to getting her story out there.
I think that's wonderful.
Spielberg should give me a call. Call me, and we should get this on the big screen so everybody can see it. It's just a remarkable place that she found to find her own courage to walk through this. Not an easy thing to do.
Oh, heavens no! But the fact that she had the strength and the perseverance to go through it says a tremendous amount about her, with everything she went through, and that the family still, although not understanding, still helped give her reinforcement to make it.
They loved her unconditionally. And unfortunately, we've run out of time. This is so much fun talking with you, PK, and all of the insight you bring to this story. Thank you so much.
It was a joy taking a look at what she was able to actually offer the rest of us to take a good look at.
Yes.
There are no closed doors anymore. We have to accept the fact that, hey, the shades are pulled up, the windows are open, the doors are open. Let's now pay attention to what's really going on.
Yes. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, PK. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with another great show. Until then, see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.
Good night.